That roast beef was good, wasn't it? Home podcast after dark
starts now. Well, welcome everyone to Home and Podcast After Dark, a Home and Podcast podcast. Thank you for being a Patreon donor. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. Jordan, how you doing today?
Good. This is a great way to start my week. Home and Podcast After Dark. You said a Home and Podcast?
Yep.
Does that mean we have several spin-offs?
Well, we're starting a network. It's what our second one's going to be Crazy for Karn.
Okay.
Just going through the filmography,
Okay.
and then we'll go off from there.
Tim's something?
Tim Allen Book Club.
Okay.
Spinoff. Yeah.
Book Club. Jeez. All right. Well, I'm excited for these new ventures. I thought, a few weeks ago, I was thinking, well, let's kind of wind down this podcast, see how we can get it, going quicker. But now we're just adding more on, and we're excited about it.
It's like when a couple has a baby to save the relationship. We're just going to add more podcasts to make things better.
It's just like that. Wow. What a great analogy.
Jordan, what are we covering today?
Today we're covering Soul Man, which I didn't know existed. So
really?
I'm pretty excited about that. You sent me this. So we watched an episode that is a crossover episode with none other than Brad Taylor. So it's exciting for us to get to do a little bit of a crossover episode. I'll do a quick rundown of the show information.
Okay.
You told me you have a lot to say, so I'm excited to hear. Maybe you have.
I feel like I do. I do have quite a bit to say.
Did you prepare your own sermon?
This is Adam's first sermon.
All right, so quick synopsis of the TV show. Mike Weber, played by Dan
Aykroyd, not Ann Aykroyd. That's his wife.
Dan Aykroyd is a widowed Episcopal priest who must deal with 4 children, his quirky parishioners in Royal Oak, Michigan, and a wet behind-the-ears curate who happens to be the nephew of his bishop. Sounds wacky if you ask me.
Yeah.
The series aired on ABC from April 15th, 1997, tax day. That's exciting.
Oh, dang.
To May.
I can just imagine people getting things in under the gun and then like, oh, thank God I'm finished because now I can watch Soul Man tonight and relax.
A sweet release that Soul Man is. And this aired till May 26, 1998. So 2 seasons, a total of 25 half-hour episodes were produced over 2 seasons. So they slowed down, according to the...
It's weird because they greenlit a second season after only 3 episodes. So the first season only has 3 total episodes, and then a 22-episode second season. I don't get that. I don't get it at all, but I guess it doesn't matter. And then they canceled it, so hard to figure.
Hard to figure indeed. It has on IMDb a 6.1 out of 10. I don't have any reference for other TV shows.
I don't think that's very good.
But the impetus of the show is Reverend Mike Weber originally appeared in Season 7 of Home Improvement. This one is created by the Home Improvement creators, Matt Williams, Carmen Finestra, and David McFadzean. Mm-hmm. And so one of their brainchild babies.
Brain babies. That's one of my favorite horror movies.
It's terrifying. This episode in particular, what is it called, Adam?
It is called Todd's First Sermon. It's called Public Embarrassment and Todd's First Sermon.
A mouthful, if there ever was one.
It's cool because it combines 2 things that are the 2 themes, so it's very apropos. Sometimes Home Improvement episodes are kind of like, what is it? Engine and a haircut, two fights? Yeah. So what's that all about? This one tells you exactly what it's all about.
Yeah, there's no mystery with this one. And it aired November 7th, 1997. Written by Pat Doherty, who has 12 credits to his name. Not a whole lot that I've ever heard of, but started with a Coach episode and then mostly did some work on a show called Empty Nest with a bunch of people I've never heard of. But another show... I can't remember if it was a widowed person. Empty Nest. Never heard of that.
I have.
Of course you have.
80s show. That's all I know.
All right. Well, there you go. And with that, Adam, do you have a lot to say now?
I'm just gonna add on a little bit to the Home Improvement connection. So Mike Weber originally appeared season 7 episode. I think you mentioned he was the priest of Al.
Yep.
And he was hired to... Did you say this? And I didn't hear
Nope, I did not say it.
Okay, all right. He was hired to put in a new stand for a holy water basin in an episode called Losing My Religion. So a lot like the Buddies thing. Yep. Well, I guess the Buddies thing is different because they didn't go in knowing that was going to be a spinoff, but it is the same in so much as the character's starting on Home Improvement and they're getting a show off of that. Tim Taylor ended up cutting the hole too big, causing the basin to fall through. Richard Karn also appears in a season 1 episode called Cinderella and the Funeral wherein he pops into the Soul Man set to fix the church's furnace. So they're they're trying to spin it off in kind of a clever way. And like you mentioned, Zachary Bryan is in this one, and we'll talk about how that kind of works. So.
All right, sounds good to me. Have you heard of the show before?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know why, but I must have been watching a lot of TV when this came out, because I have a very distinct memories of. I've never really watched a full episode, but I remember the promos so vividly.
Really?
And I remember like Dan Aykroyd. I liked Blues Brothers a lot when I was younger. I still
Me
do.
too.
But I was very excited about and I knew it was a Home Improvement spinoff, and like Dan Aykroyd getting, because they really lean into the Blues Brothers stuff in this. Like it wouldn't exist without that. And I just remember the promos very vividly. I don't know that I ever watched an episode, and it was canceled pretty quickly. But yeah, I very, very much remember this show being a thing for whatever reason. I've been curious to check it out since we started the podcast. So.
Well, today is your lucky day.
Which is why I forced you to watch it.
I had no idea you just sent me a link and I just clicked on it. It could have been a virus. I don't know. But
yeah, it helped that it was on YouTube.
It was
otherwise, I'm not sure we would have gotten it.
No.
But yeah, I don't know what about this. It's lingered in my mind. I guess I wanted to ask you before we get into it, what are your feelings towards Dan Aykroyd? What do you think of him?
I was going to ask
overall?
you the same question.
Okay.
I actually like him quite a bit.
And I'm not talking about in the context of this show necessarily, though. You feel free to go into that if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, this show, it's hard with the sample size of one in the middle of whatever season they're in and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But I was going through like a list of all the movies he was in, and I like a lot of them, just some that I wrote down. I haven't watched any of them in a really long time, so I don't remember a lot of what happens, but I just remember liking these movies and his roles in them. So Sergeant Bilko I liked, Ghostbusters,
of course.
Christmas in the Cranks is okay, with Tim Allen, of course.
Not that good.
Not that good, but I think he's kind of funny in it. Coneheads is a classic.
Yeah,
Tommy Boy, and Spies Like Us. So those were like... all movies that were enjoyable that he was in that I liked. So, and then you mentioned Blues Brothers too. I saw that, I think, in theaters, actually.
The second one?
Yeah. Blues Brothers 2000.
I like Blues Brothers 2000 more than a lot of people. I had fun with it. It's a little bit crazy. But it's funny, that movie came out right around the same time, and he had to lose like 45... I don't know if he had to, but he lost like 45 pounds to play Blues Brothers. And then in this, he's a little bit thicker again. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. I like a lot of the stuff he's been in. He does some crap. He's done some really bad stuff.
Sure.
Like he is not afraid to. I don't know that he says no a lot. Pretty schlocky sometimes. But yeah, I would add on Blues Brothers. I love Coneheads. What was I gonna say? Gross Point Blank, Sneakers. He had like some good '90s supporting roles. He's nominated for an Oscar, I think, for Driving Miss Daisy, which is kind of wild. A
lot of supporting roles, really.
Yeah, Celtic Pride is a movie that I haven't watched in 20 years, but I had it when I was little and I watched it a lot. And that's an interesting movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I have not. I've not even heard of that. It sounds.
It's weird. It's very NBA. It's like before the NBA was
super popular.
And like precious about like it's like the NBA is like just stamped all over it, and they kidnap the Utah Jazz star player played by, I think it's Damon Wayans, and when they're playing, the Celtics are playing him in the championship, and it's him and Daniel Stern from Home Alone, and it's like the first ever Judd Apatow written movie, as far as I know. It shares no resemblances to any of his other stuff, but it's an interesting one. You should check it out. It's very 90s, and there's some good like cameo, like Larry Bird's in it and stuff.
Sounds like we should do Aykroyd cast.
Celtic Pride, baby. As if the Boston sports team doesn't get enough play.
We need to hear more about that.
Aykroyd's an interesting guy. He's I don't know if you know this, but like he's a big UFO alien support. Like he very much believes in aliens and is kind of outspoken about that, which is interesting. I'm not saying it's good or bad. And he owns a pretty successful vodka company, Crystal Head Vodka, which is kind of related to the aliens because I think the design of the bottle is related to like some sort of alien imagery. So Aykroyd, he's a character.
He strikes me as kind of an odd bird.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
general, in the way that maybe Steve Martin is not quite as strange, and I think of them as very much contemporaries. I kind of think
that's weird. I think a lot of people would say Steve Martin is quite a bit better than Dan Aykroyd, but
no, not I said as strange, quirky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
okay,
no,
gotcha.
I like Steve Martin better too.
Yeah.
Sergeant Bilko for me was just a revelation, you know.
You really love Sergeant Bilko.
both of them
I've
in there.
seen it. I don't have the same fond memories.
Well,
but
again, this is one of those things that I probably just watched it with my dad when I was younger, and I really enjoyed it. And now, like, I couldn't tell you what happened in that movie. I need to watch it again, and I probably would think, okay, this is something that little Jordan would like, and maybe adult Jordan not so much.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if it's a brain baby of something else you like, that helps too. One thing I forgot to mention is I've been drinking Crystal Head vodka all morning.
Well, that explains it.
I have Aykroyd fresh in my mind. I guess that's all. I mean, Aykroyd isn't. He doesn't really do much anymore.
No.
He'll pop up every now and then. He's in the all-female Ghostbusters a couple years ago. Not playing his character from the Ghostbusters, which kind of illogical, but
well, yeah, I think Ghostbusters has a lot of logic to it. So
yeah, well, hey, I ain't afraid of no ghost, and I ain't afraid to talk about Soul Man. So,
No.
Jordan, I guess we should talk about this. Very curious to hear your thoughts as a more religious man of the two of us. So I don't know. Let's just. What do you want to talk about first? Do we need to walk through the plot briefly? Or?
I guess we can briefly talk about it. Basically, we don't need to walk through the whole thing, but
No.
you know, again, it is hard to kind of just jump into the series, especially in the second season. But you get the gist of what's going on here. We open at the Reverend's home. And he's got a crazy life. He's got 4 kids, as it's saying. You don't see mom here. And everybody's running around. They're trying to keep the family together and all that kind of stuff. And in walks Brad, which is kind of a surprise. I mean, there's some questions that I have about this episode, like, what are the other boys doing since everyone has to leave the house? And why is Brad coming here, you know?
Who cares, man?
How close are they with this reverend? I don't know.
Do you like it? Brad comes in right away, which is how I knew that we were going to cover. Like, I was just, like, randomly clicking on episodes on YouTube. There's 3 or 4. Brad walks in, I'm like, all right, well, we're covering this.
He's in it a good amount.
He is. It's not as fleeting as I thought. He plays kind of a central role. Did you like it? I don't know. What do you make of it? I thought it was kind of cute. I thought it was kind of cute.
Yeah, I think he's. A lot of times on Home Improvement, I wonder about Zachary Bryan's acting chops.
Acting. He's so much better than
I give him credit for.
Than anybody on. I mean, Dan Aykroyd's good in this show, but Zachary Bryan is so much better than every other actor in the show.
It really shows.
I know, it was weird. We haven't gotten to him at the age he's at in this show. I think this is like
97
season 7 or something. Yeah. So, but I was really surprised. He seemed to have a real command. I was sort of impressed by his stage presence in a way that generally I'm not.
That was the vodka.
It's a vodka. Yeah, it is interesting. He's friends with the oldest Weber boy, and he's just like so much better than that kid.
Don Weber?
I don't think that's his name. But
sorry.
Sure.
No. Yeah, he is friends with the oldest one. I'm not sure why. He seems way cooler than that kid. But
yeah, Brad, like older, cooler, etc. But yeah, I thought Brad was actually pretty good in this. That would be one of the highlights of the episode, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect that. I was thinking, okay, they would do a Randy crossover, but no, Brad brings it here, and we definitely know that Mark's not going to be in a crossover. So Mark
wouldn't even be friends with the weirdest little kid on this show. There's like some jokes about it exists in the same universe. They very pointedly say Royal Oak in this show for whatever reason, but he's like, "What's your dad do? How's your
There's
father?"
There's a lot of Tim jokes for him not being here.
Yeah. I know, they're really leaning into the Home Improvement connection, I guess, because it's a much more popular show. But
I did read that for a long time this followed, well, not a long time, 25 episodes.
Approximately 25 episodes.
This followed Home Improvement. So that makes sense to have a real connection and it's the same, creators and stuff. So they are trying to really woo the same audience. I don't know if there's a lot of crossover, but it did say that every time it followed Home Improvement, it did pretty well. So
yeah, okay.
It was funny reading an article. I have an article from the LA Times about kind of the animosity between ABC and Wind Dancer, which we talked about with
current or back then.
This was 1998 article.
Okay.
But it really confirms a lot of what Carmen Finestra said in our interview with him, and how there's a lot of hostility there, and it talks about ABC moving Soul Man and basically killing it.
That's cold.
Yeah, it definitely adds to the bad blood. But it's funny because it mentions a lot of other shows that Soul Man was slotted against, and it's just like the 90s.
You forget they existed.
Yeah, like
never heard of them.
Mad About You, News Radio, Something So Right, which I've never heard of.
Me neither.
Ellen, NYPD Blue, like all these different. It's a real time capsule of an article. So
heck yeah,
and it's short and sweet, but yeah. So they lean in quite a bit, and I think it makes sense, and it worked for them at the time. The opening credits I felt was
iconic.
It was very different from the opening scene to me. It was just like
I liked it. It's
fine.
Kind of like isn't it what you want if you're watching this show? Like it's very like this is all like I don't know. It's like watered down Blues Brothers. Like it's just like corny family Blues Brothers kind of stuff. Like he's like a blues guy and he sings and dances and whatever, but like I kind of liked it. I don't know. Like it's very 90s and like I said, corny as shit, but it's all right.
It was. I just felt like in the first opening scene, it's very like the Reverend is very mild mannered, and then the opening credits come on, and he's like,
"Yeah, you're right,
I'm a soul man," and then he hops off his Harley and enters the church, and it's like a rock concert. So I wasn't ready for that because I didn't know it was coming.
Hey Jordan, this ain't your dad's Reverend, all right? This guy's cool.
Hey, my younger Reverend, Pastor Allen was amazing. So back off.
Sorry. Yeah, so I mean, we get into the plot a little bit. It's pretty thin. Basically, two things going on. He's got this kid who his oldest son is just kind of a a-hole to him the whole time.
Kenny, or no, that's the older kid is Kenny. I didn't get their names very well here.
It doesn't matter. There's two boys and a girl. I guess the youngest boy was Spencer Breslin in the first season.
That's correct, and we did not get to see that. So.
Too bad. I would love to have seen him. I would love to have seen him work. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See him get a start.
Yep. So yeah, and Brad comes over, and Brad's he's trying to get with a senior, and Dan Aykroyd, Mike Weber, he takes the family to the movies, and while they're gone, everything happens very quickly. Nothing's fleshed out, but the Kenny and Brad come back, and they got two girls, and they're watching a movie. Well, for whatever reason, Mike Weber comes back home, busts him, and Kenny is just mad. His dad is just so domineering and controlling, I guess. I don't know. It didn't really seem like it. It seemed like he was pretty reasonable with what he's asking, but you know how teens are.
Yeah, he says like earlier. He says like you have to be home at 11, and Kenny's like
11.
Oh my
11? Why not 11 a.m.?
Jeez.
Like also like, hey Kenny, you're not gonna do it. Like you got nothing going on. You'll be home by 10 easily, so don't even worry about it.
If Brad's not around, you're just going to the family movie. So
he's a Kenny or whatever his name is. I'm gonna say Kenny.
Kenny's the oldest kid. Yeah.
Yeah, like Brad's just bringing him around for fun. Like this is Brad's show. Brad's gonna end up with both those girls before Kenny even gets looked at. Frankly,
I don't know. They were cuddling on the couch watching that scary movie.
Oh yeah, it was great. Meanwhile, there's this guy, and I think that this
is the better plot to me right here. Because it brings in the old lady, which we can talk about.
Oh, I forgot about her. I guess there's two plots. This guy, Anthony Clark, plays Reverend Todd Tucker, the titular Todd Tucker of Todd's first sermon. I can't stand this guy. I've watched a lot of, weirdly, this show Yes Dear that he was on. I think it was on after school.
Yep.
And that show sucks.
It was terrible.
He really sucks. He really sucks in that. And like, I'm just not a fan of this guy's work at all. And this was another role of his that I was just not that into. He also cuts Sean Connery's hair in the movie The Rock, for what it's worth.
That is a good movie right there.
That's a good movie, yeah, but he's not. He doesn't make it good. He adds nothing to it.
He makes The Rock by cutting Sean Connery's hair.
He's like an intern, I guess.
He's not an intern. He's like a fellow reverend, but he's like the assistant. So he's fresher. He obviously it talks about his first sermon, so he hasn't really given a sermon to the public or anything. Mm-hmm. But he would not be called an intern. Let's say that.
He's a church intern. I mean, we're all interns under God, frankly.
Sure.
I don't know why we need to make that distinction. He's all fire and brimstone, whereas, again, Dan Aykroyd's not your dad's pastor. He's cool. He makes Snoopy references, which, hey, man, if we're getting personal, I think most people would be more interested in that than the this guy is like, he comes in hot. Everybody's going to go to hell if they don't do blank things. It's one of those sort of scenarios. So yeah, it's two different approaches to sermons. You got the pop culture kind of fun, quirky Dan Aykroyd, and then you got this other guy he's very, like I said, fire and brimstone. You'll go to hell if you don't do these things. Everybody's doomed and damned and so on. And Dan Aykroyd, he just doesn't think the church is going to respond to that, so he's trying to protect this guy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he likes. I guess he likes Reverend Todd. We talked about how
I don't know why.
He's his nephew.
Why would anybody like this guy? He's Dan Aykroyd's nephew?
Yeah, I think that's what it says in the show's premise. So that's part of the reason that he really goes to bat for him, I would assume.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, and he gives him a little bit of a preview of what he's doing. Like you said, it's a lot of fire and brimstone and judgment. That's not ideal probably for his parishioners. If they're used to the other guy, that's going to be a rude awakening.
That's for sure. Yeah, people don't. I guess I shouldn't make generalizations, but I would say most people don't want to hear that kind of an approach. But yeah, especially you're right, if the juxtaposition. So you got that going on, and then this old lady comes in, and that's just like one. I don't know. That's just like one too many cooks in the kitchen for me. Like, what's going on here? She doesn't want Todd to give the sermon because of a fundraiser. Was that your understanding? Can you explain this to me?
It's a bit confusing, but it seemed like she donated a lot of money because in the name of her husband who is deceased, and she doesn't want him like basically associating him with that with her husband. It's a pretty thin, I think. She's a little.
It's basically like they wanted to bring in an old lady to kind of be bawdy, talk a little dirty. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it works for me,
She's horny too. Like she's real horny, which I love.
She talks about like there's a scene where she's arguing with Reverend Weber. And she says, "I know what's going on here. I can feel the sexual tension," and it's pretty funny because I did not expect it. So,
yeah, you liked it. Did you like it when she said that she let a straight man cut her hair and it was the biggest mistake she's ever made in her life? Oh, jeez, come on. I don't know. That was a '90s line. Yeah, so I don't know. She doesn't want him. She doesn't want him to do it. The reason was not clear.
There's a standoff here.
There is a standoff. And Dan Aykroyd, he is firm. He takes command.
He digs in. He digs in his heels.
Meanwhile, like you said, it is a very complex plot. Kenny is mad at his dad still, and his dad's making fart noises with his. Dan Aykroyd is pretty lowbrow in this.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, I mean, he's not doing anything too crazy.
Do you think he's funny?
In this episode?
Yeah, I mean, we can only judge this episode.
I don't know. He just seems like kind of he's making a lot of dad jokes, I guess.
It's a lot of dad jokes. There's one joke that was funny about, Kenny getting some or something,
yes,
and I remember
laughing.
That's, the best line in the episode because it's pretty overt.
And Kenny, I don't think, gets it, which shows that he's definitely not getting some.
Yeah, Kenny, you're not going to score if you don't even know what scoring is, bro. Sorry. You can be home by 11.
Mm.
Basically, we get to a point, it's time for the final sermon.
Boy, that moved quickly.
Todd's final sermon. Is there anything I'm missing?
Oh, there's a scene. There's another character who is, I guess, above Reverend Todd at this church, and he is saying, "Hey, I heard what you're going to do and let Todd do this. You might want to be careful because this lady is pretty influential." And he kind of puts it to Reverend Todd, saying, "Are you being prideful and kind of just digging in your heels here?" So,
yeah.
So Reverend Weber has to kind of think about, am I doing the right thing here? So he just kind of moves forward with it. So he kind of ignores this guy, I think.
For sure, yeah.
And then we do get to your scene that you're talking about. Everyone's in the church. Reverend Todd steps up to make his first sermon, and Brad's in the audience. So that's nice.
Brad is really a good sport this whole episode. You know what? The family is fighting around him. He gets punished for having girls over, but he's there on church and he's game.
He's like, what?
He's very polite. It really, I think it reflected well on Tim and Jill that Brad is just so cool and relaxed and polite.
He's like, I've been through everything. I threw a brick through a greenhouse window. I've cut my hair really strangely. You know,
his hair looked great, so we have that to look forward to.
That's true. Makes me excited for when Brad gets a little bit older.
I know, he looked great. Yeah,
gets out of his grunge phase and kind of into a more, I don't know,
preppy,
athlete, I would say, is what he turns into. But yeah, so Reverend Todd gets up to give his sermon, and he just is very nervous. Everything's going wrong. Things are falling off of the pulpit. He's looking in the audience, and people are starting to like crumble candy and candy wrappers and like yawn. And then
there's a mention earlier about how like
this is a worst nightmare scenario.
Yeah, like candy wrappers is like a sign that you're losing them.
Yep.
So I guess that was sort of a nice callback, and that is like, I feel like that is and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's would be a real thing that could happen in church, like. Boredom related to like people are like, you know, I guess modern it would be someone would be on their phone or something, but like rifling through their purse or like eating candy or whatever, just kind of losing the audience.
Yeah, that I can imagine that would be very distracting. I can't say I've given a sermon, so I wouldn't really know, but
yeah, but you've been in a church, right? Like, you know,
sure, I've definitely been in a church.
Yeah, right. So you kind of get it.
I would say the harder thing would be like if a baby screams and for some reason they don't take the kid out. That would be. I can't imagine just like continuing through that, but it happens.
I know, it's like being a teacher, but you can't punish anybody, you know.
That's very true. So he doesn't. I don't even know if he starts giving the sermon at all. He just kind of says.
He says like 3 lines, and then he's like, buh, buh, buh.
And I guess one thing that I did laugh at before we move on to like how it's saved, how Reverend Weber saves the sermon somehow. They do when they're doing like the candy wrapper and the looking at the audience and things are going awry. They have like a thing where Jesus is yawning. They do like a guy.
I didn't see that.
Oh man, I laughed out loud because it was very unexpected. But there's
it's a painting or something.
No, there's like a person, and Todd is just so nervous that he just imagines this guy as like Jesus yawning at him. And I was like, what is going on?
That's really going for it, man.
Oh, it was so really unexpected. So Reverend Weber gets up and he's like, all right, I got to save him. And the way that he does so, I don't know that it works in real life, but it works in the show. He just gets the choir up, and it's a lot of singing and gospel choir.
Very Blues Brothers-esque here.
Yeah, and the church likes it. So
well, here's the thing you got to remember. We know from the opening credits that this is a singing and dancing kind of church. People will respond to it, and this is the norm under Weber. So when he gets up and starts doing it, they've seen it before and they're ready.
Yeah, and there's there's not like real content to the singing here. It's just like singing.
Doesn't matter. And doesn't matter. It stopped the sermon, and people are feeling it. It's I don't know. It's one of those things where like it's very sitcom-y. As I was watching it, I was kind of, I don't know if it would work anywhere else, but as I watched this episode, I was kind of satisfied with it. I don't know. That was just kind of funny. Like it's very in keeping with this show. So like, I don't know. Yeah, they got to end it somehow. So why not do it this way? We cut to after the service. Everybody's like really impressed with how it went. And even like Kenny's girlfriend is like kind of impressed by her dad's dancing.
She thinks he's cool. And so take that, Kenny.
And Kenny, and then Dan Aykroyd's like, yeah, well, Kenny taught me all my dance moves, and I was like, all right, we about done here.
But we're not, because the old lady comes back.
Yeah, finish her off here, Jordan.
All right, she's very sarcastic. She threatens to leave. She has threatened to leave earlier if he preaches, but she's not going to. There's also a line earlier where she says like, "You work for me." And if I'm Reverend Weber, I'm like, get out of here.
I guess that maybe this is how it is. I don't know. I think like from what I've gathered, like church politics can get pretty like I don't know, can get pretty messy, Jordan.
It can be, but if that's where you're at, I think your church has some real soul searching to do. Let's say that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, she comes back and she basically says, "You defied me," and she kind of likes it. It's kind of a turn on for her.
Yeah, she's horny as hell.
And we didn't mention that she has like a guy who wheels her around.
Yeah.
And she kind of objectifies him. It's very strange that this lady is so high up in in the church annals and can make all these decisions. But yeah,
Hey, Jordan,
she can.
Jordan, 2 words for you. Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty brutal.
Bad people can ascend. Bad people can ascend.
It's pretty brutal, yeah. And but yeah, there's just some more jokes about how she's got the hots for Reverend Weber here.
Yeah. And I heard that in the finale they
get together.
Yeah, I heard and I've heard I heard it was so steamy that the cameras fogged up.
And they canceled the show.
And they canceled the show because it made so many people sick. Roll credits, fade to black, public embarrassment, and Todd's first sermon.
Yikes!
What do you think of this?
I think it's not a very good show. I think Brad really brings it though.
Okay, yeah.
There are a couple things that I laughed at. Like you didn't see the Jesus yawning thing, but that was so unexpected to me that it was funny. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot else that's actually funny here to me. It's very like milquetoast to me.
Yeah, boilerplate. Yeah, for sure. Do you think I guess we'll touch on this again. How do you feel like Dan Aykroyd's the star of the show? It's built around him in the same way, Home Improvement's built around Tim Allen. How does he fare?
I think it really hurts that he doesn't have a wife.
Say it again.
I think it really hurts that he doesn't have a wife. He doesn't really have a strong character to play off of in that way, and so
because the kids all kind of suck.
Yeah, and so his conflict has to come from these outside characters that aren't really that interesting.
So you think the wife would have maybe been a ghost that would have been better?
I mean, why does it have to be a widow, I guess is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. Okay, keep going with your thoughts. What anything else works, doesn't work?
I don't know. I mean, I don't mind the premise of the show. I think there can be a lot to this. I mean, I was trying to think of like all the different religious sitcoms that are out there. I guess there were more than I considered when I Googled it. You have, I don't know.
Seventh Heaven.
Yeah, and I don't know that you call that a sitcom, but there's other things on the list. So I guess, I don't know. And to me, it was kind of unique, and so maybe that could work.
I think that maybe the reason you don't think about them very much is because they don't really do it anymore.
No, but there is kind of a resurgent of like, I don't know, God-centric show. Isn't there like that God Friended Me show or whatever?
That's true. That is. That is so weird. That was terrible.
What's the one with
that is true.
Kristen Bell and Ted Danson?
Oh, The Good Place. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true. They're. It's just for whatever reason, I just don't feel like you would have a show that centers on a reverend necessarily right now. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
I don't know that they'd want to be in your face about like a particular religion, whereas like those shows are kind of like God in sort of like a vague way.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Those are very ambiguous, and this one is very Christian. Like it's
right.
It's really focused on one type of religion.
Yeah.
Not even that. It's one denomination in the religion.
Sure.
So it's pretty narrow in scope there, whereas those shows are just kind of ambiguous. I've never seen either of them, but it seems to me they're ambiguous.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it wasn't maybe as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be just like garbage. I don't think it's garbage necessarily. I think Dan Aykroyd probably deserved a little better, but what can you do? I could have seen myself maybe enjoying it as a 7-year-old. Like I guess I would have enjoyed this when I was really, really young. It's just like kind of corny, very 90s. Jokes don't really sneak up on you, except for your Jesus yawning joke or God yawning joke, whatever happened there. Seems to have surprised you.
You might want to go back and watch that final scene again, because it's pretty funny.
Okay, I'll check it out. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really work for me now, but I don't know if I expected it to. Brad was the best part. If Brad wasn't in this episode, I think it would have been a lot worse. So it makes me feel good about having a home improvement podcast and not a Soul Man podcast.
Yeah, we could have set our sights lower, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I like Dan Aykroyd mostly throughout his career. He is doing, I think he's probably doing the best he can here. The writing is not stellar. I wouldn't say it's okay. It was interesting. I think as a time capsule, it's kind of an interesting show, but I probably won't be, going back to YouTube and watching a lot more. The question we used to ask on these episodes and that we abandoned is, Jordan, is this something worth checking out if you're a home improvement fan?
I mean, definitely the crossover episodes, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't watch the Karn one, but this one's, like we said, Brad has a very strong performance here. Zachary Bryan does a good job. So it's nice to see him in there. And I guess I wouldn't know about the whole series. I guess it's 25 episodes, so
yeah,
it's kind of a big commitment for a show that I'm not sure about. So there's not enough actual conflict in the show to me in this one episode. So, and
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's the sermon stuff. I guess is better. I mean, I laughed at you earlier, but I mean, I guess that is at least, I don't know,
I could see realistic. That. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, it's like a church-based content. If you're going to have a show about a reverend, like, that is a thing that probably should happen. The stuff with the kid is just, like, it felt like they didn't have enough to go off of with just the sermon, so they kind of threw it in last minute. It's pretty lame. Yeah, I guess I would say, yeah, like you said, if you're a Home Improvement fan, you probably, maybe you've already seen some episodes of this and you know it's not for you. The crossover stuff is interesting. I would be curious to see the Karn one, and it'll be fun to see Dan Aykroyd on Home Improvement in a year or so when we get to that episode. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a kind of a lukewarm recommend for Home Improvement fans.
The definition of milquetoast, huh?
That's right. Anything else you want to talk about with regards to this?
I mean, I did find one review on IMDb.
I also have probably the same. I was gonna read two.
Is it glowing?
Two on IMDb. There's one. I was going to read the one-word garbage one.
Yeah, that's the one I got. So
okay, you go ahead.
All right. So this is on the series as a whole. I don't think anyone went through and did episode by episode like Home Improvement fans would. So we've got one word garbage is the title. This was January 23rd, 2003 by Chester Gray, and it says, "I am a certifiable sitcom junkie. And I have watched.
I just want to say I love what follows here. It's really good.
And I have watched at least one episode of nearly every show ever broadcasted on North American television.
Whoa!
Yikes! With the one episode of this show I watched, it was hard for me to keep from vomiting. Ooh. This show was a waste of a great actor's talent and put a blemish on the face of religion.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Maybe you were taking it too seriously, if that's what you expected. I hope that whoever thought up this tripe was fired and banned from writing. Chester's rating, 2 stars out of 10, so I guess no.
I gotta say, after that review, didn't you think you'd give it like 0 or 1 star?
He didn't even dignify it with a review, or a star, or I guess a rating.
I think that those asterisks are stars. I thought that was 2.
Oh, I think he was just like refusing to give it a number.
Wow. Well, okay, can we get a hold of this guy? It's
from
2003.
Can we get Chester Gray out here?
I love the 2 lines in there. I've watched at least one episode of every show ever broadcast. Bold.
Very bold.
Even more bold. Just put a blemish on the face of religion. Wow. Take it easy. Another review here. Yet another show that deserved better. This is written by Hair Sandwich. Gross. In the year 2000. Just like On Our Own, this was a show that made a somewhat taboo subject not so awkward. The whole concept of a preacher being portrayed as a cool guy was interesting, and it really presented another side of Christianity than the Bible-thumping, discriminating stereotype. Dan Aykroyd was ideal for the part, and the whole deal with him being widowed and trying to raise his kids alone gave the series a sense of realism. It's too bad that most viewers saw that he was a preacher, and thus the show couldn't be entertaining or have a positive message. So, that is a little bit more logical, I would say.
Yeah, wow, that person should talk to Chester.
They should hash it out here. Yeah, so that's about all I got on as far as reviews go. I don't know.
What did you want to know from me? You said you were interested in my perspective of something.
Oh, I mean, like, I don't know if you'll want to go into it, but as a religious guy, what do you make all this? As a more religious guy than me.
I don't see anything in here that's like super strange. I mean, the Bible thumping thing, I guess, yeah, I don't think that works for a lot of people, but if your message is like there's no kind of consequences or like God doesn't care about what you do, that's also a problem. So
sure.
It's they kind of go hand in hand, but I think what you see with people who really push back on that is the people who are like all fire and brimstone, and I don't think that really works. So I guess I agree with a little bit of what they're saying, but I don't see any like content in their church at all. I see like the thing that we see in a very short thing, and I can't imagine that they would give a message on national television and expect it to work. Like the only time that ever worked, I think, was the Peanuts Christmas thing.
Yeah, you're right. That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That is pretty overt.
That's the only they like literally go through like the story of Jesus's birth. Like that doesn't happen on any other show. So
I heard it. I heard during the 5th season of Soul Man, they just put a camera in the church and it's a 22-minute sermon, and people loved it.
Depends on your church, I suppose.
I guess, yeah. But I mean, like, I just can't imagine that this would happen now. It's specific. I guess it's specific, but it's also still pretty vague.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, they don't...
You're not serving anyone with this.
No. Which means, I guess, you either serve everyone or you serve no one, huh, Jordan? I don't know. It's really weird. It's kind of a weird show. It's not that funny.
I just don't know who the audience is. Because, like, okay, if we think of Last Man Standing...
Yeah.
There's a specific audience for that, and maybe there's a lot of people who don't agree with a lot of the people who like that show or whatever, or the way that's portrayed. But I don't know who this is for.
Jordan, I don't know who it's for either. But I will say this: when I typed in the Soul Man, there's also a show with Cedric the Entertainer that was on like TV Land or something, and it got 6 seasons.
All right. Well, I guess maybe that's our next Patreon episode. We can compare Soul Man versus Soul Man.
6 seasons in a movie. Jordan, what else should we say about this?
I'm surprised we've made this long about it. I mean, there's not a lot on the internet about this.
No, it's I've tried to find Buddy stuff as well, just like for the sake of doing something like this and watching an episode of Buddies, and yeah, it has been kind of scrubbed clean. I wish we would have asked CF about it, but
hindsight, it's always 2020. Maybe we can tweet at him and see what he has to say. Based on the article that I read,
CF doesn't have a Twitter, Jordan.
That's true. Well, maybe does Wind Dancer?
That's a better question. All right, that's something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, the article that I found in the LA Times there was just a lot of animosity in that article. It was just talking about how the writers were like really upset that they were moving it. They were basically saying ABC is killing it on purpose, where ABC was trying to just like say, no, we do this all the time. And they had examples to back them up. And they were talking about how other people in the field, this was an interesting perspective that I hadn't heard, were not feeling very sympathetic towards Fenestra and the other Wind Dancer people. And their plight, they were just like, this is show business, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Well, it's also not that good of a show. So like.
Yeah, they just felt like it was completely unjustified. Specifically, it said Wind Dancer's complaints haven't generated much sympathy from peers who point out that the producers have had other opportunities to follow the success of Home Improvement without delivering another hit. And then it says, since launching that show, the company has produced 2 other comedies that never canceled. Thunder Alley, starring Ed Asner, and the short-lived Buddies.
Man, we gotta watch Thunder Alley. It sounds cool.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, like, it's hard to feel a lot of sympathy for them, because if they had done a better job, it wouldn't have gotten moved, you know?
Right.
So, like, I don't know. Sour grapes, I guess. Oh, man. Wow. I'm clicking on a thing here. What'd you find? So it's like a still for like an infomercial where they were selling a 5 DVD Soul Man set, all 25 30-minute episodes.
You need 5 DVDs for that, huh?
Yeah, you're right. It's only 2 hours. Complete series set comes in multi-disc, full-color display box, full-color printed DVDs, not stick-on labels.
Thank goodness.
Each episode, titles on each DVD, free shipping in the U.S., 50% off shipping outside the U.S. So yeah, this is on sell.com.
Is this still a good deal? I mean, is it still going? Free shipping. I mean, you can't turn that down.
The listing has been disabled. It is no longer available. It was going for $19.95. This was back in, well, I don't know what year, but you could buy it. You could buy it back then. People were selling it. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I'm glad I watched it, but I don't know that I have a lot more to say about it. Other than the fact that I wish we would have gotten more on his motorcycle, because I think motorcycles play a big role in the show normally. Yeah,
and I mean it's only really featured at.
You got the opening credit. There's a graphic. Yep. Where it's like a motorcycle, and we know a lot about motorcycles. Obviously, we're motorcycle guys. It's just like a graphic of a motorcycle.
I mean, they really missed the opportunity to have Tim come over and work on the motorcycle and soup it up.
Yeah, why was Tim never on the show? Maybe it would have gone more than 2 seasons if they have Tim Allen come on. Like, come on, you're doing a crossover. Can't he walk over?
Well, he probably had other things to do.
He heard that there were kids on the show, and he's like, I'm not working with
They're way too young. I already did that.
He's like, oh, you guys replaced Spencer Breslin? He's my friend, so out of respect to him, I can't do it.
I'm out of this.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a natural one, but they did have the Karn Man on for a replacement of something you said, right?
Yeah, and I guess I read that the show filmed in Astoria, Queens, whereas HI filmed in LA, so I guess it probably just wasn't that easy. Man, I did some hella research for this episode.
You were very excited. You sent me this, and you're like, man, you can't wait to talk about Soul Man.
I was so mad on Friday when you canceled. I was like, man, I'm so excited to talk about Soul Man on Friday. It's like, I love Fridays and I love Soul Man.
Well, luckily you get to start your week with it now.
That's right. The fallout for this, for Dan Aykroyd, it's not like this show failing really hindered his career. He went on to do a voice in Ants. He's in the movie Loser, film Pearl Harbor, Evolution, which is a movie I kind of used to enjoy. So he would just go on. I don't think that, it may have been a blemish on the face of religion, but not necessarily Dan Aykroyd.
Well, that's good. I don't know that I have anything else to say.
I have one final question, Jordan.
Okay.
I know you're extremely busy and that you have a lot to do. So, Jordan, how do you make this show better?
How do you make this show better? Well, we mentioned on having Tim on there, but I also mentioned too, like, I don't know why he has to be widowed. I think you need another likable adult to have a real conflict with, because all we get is like inept dude who is my nephew at the thing. Maybe there's more of a relationship with that guy that he consults with later in the show.
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe there is in other episodes. Yeah,
we don't know, but I think having a spouse would make it a lot better. The kids are pretty poor.
I was gonna say, hot take, too many kids.
4 is a lot to have on the show because you can't really. I mean,
we don't get anything out of the younger two. Like, the 2 young kids don't do anything. We get the older kid, and then there's like a middle kid that is like kind of like wisecracking. He looks kind of like Joseph Gordon-Levitt or the kid from Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, yep.
But it's not him, as far as I know. But yeah, too many kids.
Yeah, and we don't. I mean, on Home Improvement, we barely get anything out of the 3 kids we have there. So, I don't know. That's a good point as well. What else could they do?
I mean, more song and dance. I think like half of the episode should be the opening credits, and then you only have like 11 minutes to fill, which would be easier.
I think.
Hey Jordan, let me ask you this. Final question, since I know you're scrambling here.
Well, I want him to have a wife who's an atheist. That's what I want.
Oh man, they could never get married.
Love, maybe they got married and then he became a reverend.
Oh, maybe a crisis of faith. She lost her religion.
Yeah, I think something like that. Maybe something.
She's like, oh man, I've been married to Dan Aykroyd for 10 years. I think I don't believe in God anymore. My husband makes fart noises on his motorcycle. Yeah, maybe there isn't a God after all.
We fixed the show. Ta-da!
All right, last question. I think the worst thing we've ever covered on this is Christmas Prince, correct?
Is this worse than Christmas Prince? Is that what you're going to ask me?
That's my question. I'll go first. No, because
I think I like Christmas Prince better.
Wait a minute. Get out of here. Christmas Prince was like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah. But it knew what it was doing. It was trying to be...
No, it didn't.
It was trying to be cliche the whole time. You know what I mean?
No, it wasn't. It was trying to be... Oh, gosh. You're full... Man, I hope you're ready to talk another hour. I got to relitigate this whole scenario. You'd rather watch Christmas Prince than another episode, a 22-minute episode of Soul Man on YouTube?
Why do I have to watch either?
I don't know. Hypotheticals are fun.
I don't know. They're different. They're very different. I guess...
It's weird. You know what?
I mean, I watch now. I think of A Christmas Prince with the episode that we made, or the show that we made where we had the pig involved, and It just makes me remember it very fondly. This one,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Don't you remember when we rewrote A Christmas Prince and there was like a pig who was in charge?
Oh, no, I don't, but it sounds funny.
You need to go back and listen to it. It's hilarious.
I think that if I were to rewrite this show, I would make Kenny more rebellious. He's just kind of a baby.
Yeah, again, we have a sample size of 1, but it would be nice to have, like I said,
like why can't Kenny get drunk?
It's kind of the same thing as like the atheist wife. It's something that's like a real conflict, whereas Kenny is just kind of like, meh.
Kenny's like, Dan, I can't stay out late.
Oh, I can't sit with a girl?
Yeah, it's like you don't even know what you're talking about. Do you think Dan Aykroyd's an atheist? Probably, if he's so into aliens. Am I painting in too broad of strokes here?
Yeah, I think you are.
Okay, sorry. All right, well, on that claim / speculation, just allegedly.
Allegedly.
I think we should...
We're trying to make our bones by just causing a ruckus for Dan Aykroyd.
I like Dan Aykroyd. I'm just speculating. I mean, he's really into aliens. He has a pretty successful vodka company. I'm just connecting the dots here. I think he's a very interesting guy.
I think that's where we'll leave it.
I think so, too. You're an interesting guy, Dan Aykroyd. Thanks for listening. And thank you again for, donating, pledging to our Patreon. We will continue with monthly episodes of Home and Podcast After Dark, a Home and Podcast podcast. My name is Adam. Jordan, thank you for joining me. Goodbye.
Take care, everybody.